Hello, and welcome to the Three Links Oddcast, your podcast for all things having to do with Odd Fellowship. And now, here are your hosts. Welcome, everybody, to the very first Three Links Oddcast of the new year, 2021. Great to have you all on here listening. I'm your host, Toby Hansen.
I'm your co-host, Ainslie, and today we have our special guest host from the beautiful kingdom of Montana, Christopher McHale, with us tonight.
Good health, good wealth, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, brother. For those of you wondering, yes, Brother Sergio is still on assignment over at the Material Sciences Division here at the Three Links Oddcast. And we also want to make sure we mention our wonderful sponsors, Pig and Pug Bath Stuff. Remember, folks, if you like to take baths and use soap, they make soap. So keep that in mind next time you want to clean yourself up a little bit. Well, for this episode, we are joined with an excellent guest. He is a member of Reno Lodge number 14 in Reno, Nevada, and that is Brother Joe Motta. Welcome, Brother Joe.
Hello, brothers. Hello, brothers and sisters listening, and everyone else. How's it going?
Well, it's going good here. So you wrote into us on Facebook and said, hey, I listened to the podcast. I love what you're doing. And I just joined, and I've got some thoughts I want to share and some experiences I want to talk about. And we said, great, come on the show. So here you are. To set things up, first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to join the Independent Order of Oddfellows.
Okay, so for everyone listening that thinks this kid is 12, no, I am 21 years old. I am of age, I promise. So
I literally had to ask before the show.
Yep, no, he did. He's being truthful about it. But so I'm just recently graduated the University of Nevada, Reno, and I was a part of collegiate Greek life. I'm a Phi Delta Theta here at UNR, and I was looking into, believe it or not, joining the Freemasons, and to be fair, I still am. And through that, I contacted one of my other fraternity brothers, Matt Arnold. Shout out to him. He specifically told me to shout him out. And then I had gone to begin the process there, but I'm sure you guys are aware their process is a lot longer than ours. So in the meantime, my fraternity brother, Matt, said, hey, come check out the Oddfellows. It'll get your feet wet, and you'll get to see what an adult fraternity is like, without a fraternity house and, disgusting floors everywhere to an extent. So he brings me to the Reno 14 Lodge, and I first realized, wow, I am 40 years everyone else is junior in this building. I described it to him like walking into a room filled with the good old boys of Reno, Nevada, and that's really what it is. There's a reason I wasn't there on election night. Anyways, but these I felt right at home, at our lodge. It's a very these guys have known each other for about 40 years, it seems like. They all worked together at some point. A lot of them were mutual friends, and they came in. And it got me thinking, what could I do to bring this to more people my age? It's not a secret that you guys are surprised, or some people are surprised. I'm 21 and already an Oddfellow. That's just kind of what, you know what I mean? That's just kind of the way it is right now. So yeah, I wanted to come on, share some ideas I had about bringing on some young guys and young ladies too. And, giving a new wave to Odd Fellowship, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So what was your experience like going through the application and initiation process? Now, for some people from outside of any experience in fraternalism, they have no clue what it is. They think you just call up the lodge and they say, yeah, come on by and you can hang out with us, and that's it. But you, having been in a college fraternity, you knew that there was going to be some sort of entrance and joining process, and you also had somebody who kind of guided you into that because he already knew about it. So what was that experience like for you?
You know what? I'm not trying to sound cocky when I say I kind of expected everything to happen to like that. I did to do, I filled out an application. I got interviewed. I hung out with them a few times at their social nights, because the way our lodge works, it's every other night. week is a meeting, and the weeks in between are just socials, and you just go and hang out, play poker. So I knew I did that for a little while, and they seemed to like me, and then they set me up on the initiatory degree. And being in a collegiate fraternity, all Greek lettered fraternities are based off Masonic ritual in some way. They are all based on the Masons. So I kind of got what I expected. I don't know if it's public knowledge about the video. I was not expecting a video. So it definitely took a little bit of the magic out of it. I would have loved to have that in person, because I think anyone would. But, the process of joining was about what I expected. So I think if other people who have done a fraternity in college before did it, they would feel at home. It wouldn't feel any different to them than what they just did the 4 previous years before. So that's where I kind of stand with the joining process.
That's really good. So you were given the video version of the initiation then?
Yes, I was. Our lodge has it. Like I said, I'm a lot younger than everyone else. A lot of our older guys, it's not that they have a hard time doing it. It's just there's some things. It's hard to get a lot of the oldest guys that are part of the lodge out on a consistent basis, to be there for the ceremony, to what I mean. Like, it's just kind of hard to do that. So that's what we're kind of trying to change by bringing in. I'm one of 4 new people that have joined in the past 2. Well, okay, I joined first, and then we got 3 other people to join within the next 2 months.
Oh wow!
So yeah, we're trying to be able to make sure that if I was a little disappointed that I saw the video and not have it in person, we don't want someone that wouldn't expect anything to go through that too. I think everyone should have the in-person initiation for anything they want to join, if that makes sense.
And hopefully you and your brothers will be able to revitalize the degrees and be able to put them on in person, because luckily, knowing kind of the situation that we're in right now and how it is difficult to do the in-person degrees, especially with COVID going on. But for a smaller lodge, it's also very difficult. A lot of lodges have to kind of get neighboring lodges pooled together just to put on a proper initiation. Otherwise, it just falls flat and it's horrible. So it's like, which is worse, a horrible, poorly done in-person initiation, or the disappointment of having to watch the video? I haven't seen the video of the initiatory degree. I've only seen the video of the first degree, but
we did the video for all of them. There's the video for all the degrees. And what I will say is, Nevada, I don't know if you guys know this, there are, I think, only 7 or certain amount of lodges left in the state of Nevada, to where if one more shuts down or a couple more or folds or whatever, we get absorbed into another thing,
another jurisdiction.
So, so it's a little hard. I think the closest lodge to us is maybe 45 minutes away, and I don't even think they're active. So we're kind of the thing we have for the area. So pulling other lodges together, I would love to do that. Don't get me wrong. It's not logistically
feasible.
Possible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's fantastic that at least you're going in with like a good attitude of knowing that they're trying to do the best they can, given the cards that they've been dealt with, only having a handful of lodges left in a very large jurisdiction.
Oh no, totally. I 100% agree with you. I didn't hold it, I wasn't like, but I kind of knew that was going to happen. That like, hey, this is a smaller lodge. A lot of our guys are older. My brother said, you're probably going to get the video. And I'm like, hey, I like being a part of it, so I'll do what I have to. I think as far as remembering some of the unwritten work, if you know what I mean, I think I would have. It's not that I don't remember it. I think it would have stuck a lot quicker had I, been shown it in person and gone through the entire thing. But beyond that, it is what it is. But that's the goal, as we're working to, we're becoming better than we were before. So that's kind of the idea.
That's awesome.
Just out of curiosity, how far along into your journey are you? How have you completed all of the degrees, or? Yes,
I am a 3rd degree odd fellow. That I got initiated fully to the 3rd degree, I think in either October or November. It just meshes together a little bit right now. But sure. I'm a 3rd degree. And I was going to touch on this too. Me and a lot of some of the younger guys that joined. So there's no encampment up here Reno anymore. So we have to go down to Davis, California to do it. And there's a wait list there to do it. But they said since we're out of state, they're going to let us do it. They're going to fast track. They're going to get us in because we want to start up the encampment back up here. That's what we want to do. We want to grow to the point where we can get the Canton started up here. Like I want to do it. We want to do it all. I want to be a part of it all. So,
That's
that's
awesome.
also kind of, that is kind of the motivation is let's get people stoked about this. And it's a little selfish so I can get a cool military uniform from
No,
Patriarchs
I'm
Militant.
right there with you. I wanted to be part of the Patriarchs Militant before it faded away into a memory. And my best advice for you as far as sourcing the uniform and everything is to go on eBay and get a used one.
Because they can be thousands of dollars, I'm told. I've heard they're thousands of dollars for brand.
Yeah.
Correct. But I spent probably between the sword and the whole uniform, the whole getup, I probably spent about $300. Had to do a little bit of DIY tailoring to get it up to what my rank, or rather down to what my rank was, because it was a higher ranking uniform. So I had to like take some stripes off and do a little bit of that work and hem it up a little bit. It's a little big for me, but I got room to grow. But yeah, look on eBay. Mine is actually from, I believe, January 1944 from South Dakota. And it was right when the uniforms, like maybe a year or so after the uniform code switched from the old style with the chapeau hats to the more World War II style uniforms. So I have like the very beginning uniform of what is now the current uniform, but it's slightly older than my dad. And I think that's kind of
bad. Is it bad? I kind of like the old uniforms better. Like
no, because
the older ones are definitely
agrees.
better. Yeah,
God.
those.
If I could if there was a Patriarchs Militant uniform that was like reminiscent of the Revolutionary Army, the blue coats, or blue jackets,
that would be rad.
I should send you some of the pictures of some of the ones that I have.
I would love that.
Yeah, Christopher here is the founder and curator of the Montana Oddfellows Museum, and he has crisscrossed the entire state of Montana, which is a huge state, by the way.
It is.
And it's like 19 hours of driving end to end. And he's crisscrossed the entire state, grabbing the best stuff left in the jurisdiction of Montana. And it's a really cool, really amazing collection of stuff that they have amassed in the jurisdiction of Montana. Now, currently, you can probably confirm this, Chris, Montana is a very small jurisdiction, probably about the size of Nevada. I think you've got 5 active lodges, but 7 are still kind of clinging to a charter.
No.
Yeah.
We've got 5.
You've got 5. Okay.
So we're hanging in at the bare minimum.
No shotgun marriage with Idaho yet.
No.
So that's really great that you're working on getting the encampment back in Reno. I am a huge fan of the encampment branch because I think of it as the think tank of Odd Fellowship.
Exactly. That's exactly how it was described to me, that it's the most thought-provoking, degrees that we have. Like when I come into it, it'll just blow my mind.
Absolutely. And if possible, and hopefully they will do this for you in California, if you get the full dramatic presentation, especially the Royal Purple degree. I did the Royal Purple degree like 20 years ago in a tiny Oddfellows Hall in Eastern Washington. They had all of the most senior members of the encampment come out at that time, put on the degree. It is amazing. I think our encampment degrees, when properly acted out, are the best degrees in Odd Fellowship, possibly even the best in all of fraternalism.
Really?
I
okay.
Everything. So I'll
hold the standard high.
I think it's better than most Hollywood movies as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you really get the encampment degrees done well, they are amazing.
I was fortunate enough when I took my encampment degrees that I was hyped on it. And so I think there was maybe like 10 of us going through when I went, and I got to be the guinea pig for the whole day. So I was the one that got to do the walkthrough. and it was fantastic. It was very much more participation oriented than the Oddfellow subordinate lodge degrees are. And definitely, if I'm sure Davis probably puts it on real good. Because
I heard they're one of the more popular lodges in California. Like that
they are, yeah,
jurisdiction.
they're one of the largest lodges in the world, in fact. So, yeah, so they've got the people and the manpower and the money and the space to put on degrees.
They just
probably
have COVID.
with panache.
They just have COVID, so we can't go down and get it tomorrow. So that's
Yeah,
I
a
know.
bummer. Good thing is, I don't think people realize this. Reno is maybe 3 hours from San Francisco, and Davis is right in the middle. So it's literally just an hour and a half drive there.
Oh wow, that's a lot closer than I thought.
Yeah. So you know, and one thing that is kind of cool that also got me to want to join, just to go back to this, and after I did my fraternity, Matt Arnold, or Matt, I'm just gonna call him Matt from now on. He came up to me and said, "There's a lot of people who are Phi Delts. There's a lot of people who are Odd Fellows. There's not a lot of people who are both." So I'm like, you know what? That's really cool. He said, "You might be one of the few people in the state who might have done both." And I'm like, or ever. And I'm like, that is probably one of the coolest things I have ever heard. Like, it just cements my place in the history of the state in some backwards way. But, you know, it really just, it made me just stoked on it.
And when you take your journey to the Masons, you'll definitely find that there are a lot of crossover odd Masons that are both, and they get different things out of each group. That I've heard many compare it to two sides of the same fraternal coin, and that they each bring a different thing to it and make the other a more enriching experience. So they serve each other well.
Yeah, and I am like really excited about that, because I looked into it at first. I'm like, oh, were these organizations rivals technically? And it's like, no, they're not. Some people can interpret it that way.
Some of us look at it that way.
But you know, I really realized, and he did say in that same quote, not many people are gonna. And when you're a Mason, there's not many people that are Masons, Oddfellows, and Phi Delts at the same time. And I'm like, he's like, you might be one in a million in that case. So yeah, that's really cool. But
you know, I was actually going to ask you. So if they are to talk about you in your lodge in 50 years for one of your accomplishments, do you think that that would be it?
No, I don't think that I want them to. I don't think that that's what I'd want them to talk about me for. I'd want them to talk about me as the person who, you know, helped bring a new wave, who helped usher a new era into the Reno Lodge 14 so that it's still around in 50 years. I'm not saying it's going to shut down or dissolve, but if it's not for people my age wanting to join, it's something eventually is not going to add up. You know, I want to bring Odd Fellowship to a whole new generation. I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to do that, because there's 4 billion people my age in the world, but you know, Reno's a start. Reno, Nevada is a start. So
that's right. And if you get the chance to head down to Vegas, Artesia number 43 down there in Las Vegas, they actually have a few younger members down there as well.
Really? The Las Vegas?
Yes, in Las Vegas.
There's a tattooer, Lydia Loyalty, that's a member down there that I'm
really
Facebook
cool.
friends with. Yeah. She's got a shop in Vegas.
I actually did a show down in Las Vegas in January of 2017. February. So 4 years ago. And I got to stop in and visit the lodge one Tuesday night. It's really great people down there. They used to have a hall right downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street, but eventually they had to sell it because anytime there was a big event in downtown Las Vegas, big show at the casino, VIPs meeting, they couldn't get to their hall.
See, that's a real bummer.
Yeah.
You know, talk about placement or placing and location. You know, they must, if they sold it, they probably made a killing.
They did make good money.
So one thing that's been really cool about me and Odd Fellowship is that my girlfriend of 3 years really likes to go antiquing, and she loves to look for bottles. And I've never really had a reason to go with her, but
you do now.
Now I do. So part of that is when we go to these old rinky-dink towns in like California, Nevada, I'll look up and be like, there's the Oddfellows building. And then, no, there's going to be some good stuff here. In Placerville, not too long ago, I got this medal from the convention in the 1920s from Michigan.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's really cool. So the Reno, to talk about like Reno's big old Oddfellows building, yeah, it's very similar to that. Reno's
they made
building
those for a whole bunch of jurisdictions. Mine is a past Grand Master badge from Washington's Grand Lodge in 1913. And I snagged that off of eBay because, of course, I'm a past Grand Master now. So I was going to wear it at the session last year, but it got canceled. So I'm saving it for this year. Hopefully, I will get to actually wear it this year. We will hopefully have a session of the Grand Lodge.
Oh no, and I agree. Yeah, no, I was asking Matt about it because I called him yesterday just to make sure me going on this podcast wasn't going to get me in trouble because I never got permission to represent the lodge. But I asked him, is there any like conventions or anything for Oddfellows? And he says you have to be a past Noble Grand and a part of Grand Lodge. And he was like, correct me if he was wrong, but I was like, well, that's going to be a few years from now. Yippee!
So he's mostly correct. As a third degree member, you can go and sit in on Grand Lodge. So you can actually go and attend before you're a past Grand. But to actually take the Grand Lodge degree and be a member of the Grand Lodge, you do have to be a past Grand. So it'll be a couple years before you're a functional part of the Grand Lodge. But I'm sure they would love to sell an extra banquet ticket at the Grand Lodge of Nevada.
No, totally. Is the Grand Lodge in Nevada? Is it in Vegas or is it up here? Like, is it official?
I believe it is in Reno or somewhere close to it. I actually correspond semi-regularly with the Grand Secretary. I think his name is William Knight.
I do not know who he is. I've never heard that name. I should know who that is. But.
Yeah, I know the Grand Lodge is not in Las Vegas because as far as Odd Fellowship goes in Nevada, Las Vegas is on an island in the middle of nowhere.
According to the website, I'm sorry to butt in.
Oh, go ahead.
According to the website, it says that it is out of date on the jurisdiction page, but it's from 2018. But it does say it is at Reno 14 for the Grand Lodge and Rebecca Assembly. So both the Grand Lodge and Rebecca Assembly meet at Reno Lodge.
We had the Grand Lodge president of Nevada, or the Nevada, whoever's in charge of the Nevada jurisdiction.
Yeah,
he's a
Grand
member.
Master.
Yeah, Grand Master. He was in Reno 14, or he is in Reno 14. His name is Mike.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so I think that was about the time he was. So that might make sense if he was the president, if he was the Grand Master, that it was in Reno 14. Now, what I will say is that tenure of Oddfellows we have in that lodge, you could write a book about it. We have the guy who kind of runs it all. We call him the Eternal Noble Grand because even when he's not Noble Grand, he might as well be. His name is Vic Styra. He runs the cemetery that's nearby, and he runs the lodge. He is one of the smartest dudes I have ever talked to. Super cool, super nice. I can bust his balls just as much as he can bust mine. And I think he appreciates the younger, because he's in his 70s, just the younger kid, just giving him a hard time.
He has 50 years of ball busting on you. There's no way. No way it's even a competition.
You know what? I hold my own in there. I hold my own in that lodge room, believe it or not.
Good for you, brother.
I'll make them all laugh the entire night. I'll take it. Don't worry. But I definitely give it back. So it's a nice balance, a nice ebb and flow.
You've got a couple months experience now as an Odd Fellow. If you were suddenly to be made Sovereign Grand Master and had control over every aspect of Odd Fellowship all over the world, what kind of things would you do to get lodges in touch with that next generation of Oddfellows? Because we need them. We need that next generation. Because I'll tell you, I am middle-aged and a past Grand Master. I'm still one of the quote-unquote young kids in my jurisdiction. So what would you say from your perspective about getting some new blood into the order and revitalizing things?
Yeah, no, what it comes down to, and one of my easier ideas is that in lodges where there's a college nearby, a semi-big college or a couple of them, and it's going to come down, fraternities are a big part of that. I know there's something we can't invite people to join. I'm pretty sure that's like against the rules. We can't invite someone to join. So
actually, we can. We totally can.
Sure, you can.
Okay, cool.
That's the Masons. We're totally allowed to ask. Hence the ask
Awesome.
me, I may know. Yeah.
What we
you can force people to join in some jurisdictions, I think.
Excellent. I'm doing that right now. But you know what college fraternities really offer are not only a good group of young men, and then on the other hand, sororities, women. They also offer places to get, to go out into the community with. You can. So my idea is, if I were the noble grand of everywhere, I would go into a fraternity meeting and just simply talk about how if they have an event, most lodges rent out their halls. Most halls have a rental service. So you use that route. Fraternities are always looking for a cheap place or a discounted place to hold their events. It's not going to get them in trouble. So what you do from that is you also introduce them to what Odd Fellowship is. My grandparents and their peers, when they were my age, they were joining this stuff. Like, they were joining everything they could. My parents, no, they did not. So that is why I think it skipped a generation of like, hey, we weren't introduced to it when we were kids. Our parents were. Their parents were always at the Elks Lodge or the Mason Lodge or the Moose Club, whatever that it may be. So I think just really showing collegiate groups who we are is going to benefit us the most. My girlfriend talks about it all the time. She's a history major. She says, she thinks a lot of people don't know how to join a lot of these organizations. It's not a secret that there's an Illuminati like kind of misconception about the Masons. So everyone thinks I have to be invited by some really fancy people or really powerful. No, all you have to do is ask one how to do it. All you have to do is talk to one. No, and that's part of the problem, is that no one knows how. So I think educating, what these organizations are, educating what the Odd Fellows have been about, and telling them how to do it, and saying, hey, all you have to do is talk to us, and there's a good chance we're going to say, hey, you should join. So that's part of my my ideas that I think would very much do well in places across the world.
So on that note, if someone were to approach you right now and say, listen, I want to join your lodge, but if I do, what do I get out of it? How do you answer that question?
You know what? I'm going to tell you it by saying a few other things first. I'm a political science major. It's what we do. When I was recruiting for Phi Delta Theta in college, I was known as the best recruiter that my chapter had. The national organization knew about it. And I got that way from learning from them. People my age, the brotherhood aspect, or the camaraderie, place to go, the community service aspect, they can get that from a lot of other places. So it's not like they only have to come here for it. What I would say is they'd get out of it, they'd get a place where they can go and just kind of be themselves for a little while. They get a place where there are people are 40 years my senior, but every single one of them has offered me advice and, kind of lessons for me to carry with me throughout my entire life. I will always cherish that. So I think, what it offers them is just a place to go outside of work and home after they graduate college, or even while they're in college. It's something they can add to their tool belt of, hey, Brother Tom is a senior stockbroker at like Merrill Lynch. I'm a junior stockbroker at another place. What should I talk to him about? How, you know what I mean? It's just, there's a lot of things that can offer them to improve their lives. And I think that's the biggest thing.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's a different answer than, that's kind of the whole vibe of the show, is like, where do we go from here? But that's a really kind of a good angle that we haven't really discussed yet on the program. So I think that's definitely, you have a lot of experience that you're bringing already to the Odd Fellows that maybe can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, mobilized in some way. And if you have this great recruitment ability, if there's like some sort of techniques or some sort of training that you have that you could then train others to do, and then they could then train others and have it kind of spread. I don't want to use the word go viral, but
oh no, you could do that. People would feel very comfortable with that analogy right now.
I know that word has taken on a different
infected
meaning
with Odd Fellowship.
You want to get them, you want it to go viral and infect them with Odd Fellowship.
It's funny that you bring up that point, though. Actually, the Sovereign Grand Lodge released a series of pamphlets in the early 1920s, literally about how to basically pull people in off of the street and get them to join Odd Fellowship. There was also one about how to keep them there, which was a very important thing. And then the subject of the other two, there was like a set of 4 of them that came out all the same year that were basically sent to all the grand secretaries. The topics of the other 2 are escaping me right now, but I've actually got pictures of them on the Instagram page if you want to have a look at them.
For those of you who want to follow the Instagram page that Chris is talking about, it is the Odd Museum. So it's at Odd Museum.
At the Odd Museum, I think.
The Odd Museum. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Or if you look up any amalgamation of those words and you see a load of pictures of random Oddfellows stuff, you're in the right place. And if you're not, then you're, what a coinky dink. You ended up in a equally decent place, maybe. I don't know. I need a nap.
So what I was going to say too is that the Oddfellows and some of the lodge's local levels have horrible marketing, and I don't think that's a secret. Our lodge doesn't even we don't even have a Facebook page. So there are certain things that not only me, like my brother Matt and some of the other guys that are like a part of it, that want to do to bring it into the 21st century. Just driving past the Oddfellows building that's right next to the freeway that you can see, you might have some inkling to what it is, but if you don't and you look it up, you might not find anything for the Reno Lodge. That's part of the problem.
Do you think that some of the allure to joining an organization similar to the Oddfellows is that mysterious aspect of it, though?
I do, but the problem is my generation's very big on knowing what they're getting out of their investment. So knowing what they're going to be putting,
and instant gratification as well. Too. We want to know what that is right now. We're gonna move on to the next thing.
It's less about money for my people my age. It's more about time. It's more about the time they want to put into it. So why would someone? I'm not saying like me. This is a rhetorical. Why would someone who's driving past the freeway, who's going to go hang out with their friends, take the time to go look up what the Oddfellows, Masons, or Elks Lodge is, when they only know it as something their grandparents used to do? And it's not to I'm not trying to insult any lodges or anything or the order, but that's what it is. It's just, there's got to be a way to not get rid of that mysterious part of it, but still kind of tell people who we are in a way that's more than what we do now.
Well, that kind of dovetails into another question that I have. So for you, you obviously have an interest in history. Now that you're an Odd Fellow, you're starting to recognize some of the cultural touchstones that Odd Fellowship has left around you. So as you go into Odd Fellowship, what do you think the appeal is for the sort of Odd Fellowship of the 1960s that is left over in so many of our lodges, where everything's expedient? We rush through the ritual. We wear chain regalia instead of collars. My feeling on that is I like the traditional stuff. I like doing the ritual. It makes the experience meaningful. I like wearing the collars because they are cool. And it's something that we don't do in everyday life. It's fun to go to the lodge and play dress up and put on a degree. And I am always personally a little bit mystified by members who don't want to do any of that stuff. They want to boil Odd Fellowship down to a 30-minute meeting where they complain, pay bills, and go home. And to me, that is not engaging or meaningful.
And you know what? It's not. So what I would say to that allure of the historical and traditional part, and I'll say this about any fraternity that college or not, an adult one or whatever that's been around for a long time, is you're learning history from a different perspective. And I think that's the coolest part, is that in the Reno 14, if you guys ever get a chance to come down, Vic has done a great job. He has his own little museum room in there, which was really the coolest thing I've ever seen. There was the old collars from a long time ago. There's some fezzes from an encampment. There's is it called the Muscovites? Is that it?
Yes.
There was some regalia from there. Yeah, exactly. Everything that I could have wanted to see was in there. And I think that's probably the coolest part to someone who sees something from the past and says, that might be the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I don't think I'm the only one that feels that way.
That being
That's
said,
a very charming Muscovite fez, Toby.
Yes, and I have to thank the curator of the Montana Oddfellows Museum, because it was a gift while I was Grand Master.
Hashtag sponsored.
So have
Free
you
ads.
signed up for the virtual Muscovite degree that is happening in February?
So I'm gonna be honest. I know what the fez looked like. I knew what I found out what the Muscovites were yesterday. So and I remembered to bring them up for today. So my buddy explained it, that it's kind of like its own independent from. It was Oddfellows at first, and then it was like the Masons for a little bit, and then like it's kind of both now. If that makes.
It's anybody that is in a service or civic organization is eligible to join it now.
Got it. Okay.
The revival, they're using it basically as kind of a fundraiser / intro to ritual-based fraternalism. So if somebody's like a member, for example, I got my dad to sign up for it, and I'm excited because I'm going to take the degree with my dad. He's a Rotarian. My dad's been in Rotary for several decades. I don't know exactly how long, but as long as I can think of. And so being in Rotary, he's eligible to join the Muscovites. And so I'm excited about that because I get to do this kind of fraternal experience with my dad, and hopefully that might get his spidey senses tingling, so I could maybe finally convince him to join the Oddfellows. But they basically use it as a way to have fun and promote just fraternalism in general. And I'm really excited about it.
You know what? That's really cool, because like when I told my grandmother, old Italian Catholic lady, that I was joining the Masons and Oddfellows, she straight up asked me, "So you're not Catholic anymore?" No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just not. If I get into either, I'm not going to wear the regalia into a mass. Don't worry. But just because they have a problem with that. People didn't know.
Not the Oddfellows. We're cool with the Catholics.
The church does. The church has a problem with it, though. So, but now, Toby, I do have time for a few more questions, or like to talk a little more, because I told you I had something at 7:45. I apologize to everyone. It kind of came up unexpectedly, but is there anything else I gotta? Any other part of my brain someone wants to pick? I'm here for it.
Yes. Top 3 favorite snacks.
Okay, so that's a bit of a loaded question. Are we talking candy? Are we talking savory? Are we talking? It's 2 a.m. I just got done playing Call of Duty.
So stop being a political science major. I am a scientist. Just answer the question. Top 3 snacks.
Okay, so I think situationally, if I'm done playing Call of Duty at 2 a.m. and I want a snack, you got to go something like a frozen pizza. You got to have a frozen pizza. To me, that's a snack.
Are you going to cook it first, or?
I mean, I hope so.
Oh, okay. Well, you said frozen pizza. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think, it's more of an appetizer, but I'm a sucker for burnt ends at a barbecue place.
Oh, yes.
I think as a snack, it is godlike. And then I think third, you cannot go wrong with, and I was talking about this today, Ritz crackers are the most underrated snack in America, and no one can tell me otherwise. They are good. They have more flavor than saltines. They're as cheap, and you can eat them with just about anything and enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Ritz crackers, some salami and provolone cheese. There you go.
All right. Well, brothers, I love this. To talk about, what was the thing at the end that you wanted to? talk
The
about?
Odd Pod.
The Odd Podge. We'll
So-
let you go ahead and get your Odd Podge in now, and then we're going to
Yeah.
take a break for our sponsor.
Got it. So my Odd Podge is I started my new job this week. It's going really well. I've already started making some deals. Like I said, I work in sales. So, that's going really well. So that's probably my favorite accomplishment I've made over the week is just getting started and getting going with it.
Congratulations on your new adventure.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out to us. And
Of
being
course, I
willing
am so down to do
us.
this again. I am so down to do this again. This was so much fun. Like,
I would
Absolutely.
also invite you to write about your exploits in Odd Fellowship for the Heart and Hand blog.
Yes.
If you haven't checked out the Heart and Hand blog, it's at oddfellowsguide.com. And
Got it.
I co-run that blog with another brother from Arkansas. And
absolutely. You have my
I think-
email from Toby. You have my email from Toby. Contact me there.
Yes.
I do have article writing experience, so I do think
fantastic.
I'd be able to.
I will send you a little email blip right now.
Great. Well, brothers, in FLT, thank you guys. To anyone that's listening that's my age and just stumbled upon this, go join it. Don't be a wimp. Just go check out what it is and enjoy your day. So, all right. Thank you guys.
Oh,
a
thank
good
you
evening.
so much, brother.
Of course.
And-
you guys have a good year, okay?
You too. And with that, we're going to take a quick break and listen to a message from our sponsor, Pig and a Pug Bath Stuff. Then we're going to come back with our Lodge shout out and talk a little bit more about all of the wisdom that Brother Joe just dropped on top of us. So we'll be right back.
This is an actor portrayal. Hi, I'm Amanda, the brains and brawn behind Pig and a Pug, where I use only the best materials to give you the best products possible. For those that don't know, I'm based in the beautiful mountains of Montana, and right now it's very cold outside, so this is the perfect opportunity to give you guys a little bit of a news update. I just wanted to take a quick second to announce the upcoming release of our Christmas-themed soaps that will be shipping the first week of December. These will make fantastic gifts for those you love. With 6 different custom-tailored scents, there will be something for everyone. Know any Harry Potter fans? We have a selection of soaps for both kids and adults that will be shipping this coming week. We are also planning some Harry Potter-related giveaways for the launch, so make sure you get involved. We also have a variety of 8-ounce scented candles, sugar scrubs, and bath bombs. If this sounds up your or someone you know's alley, look us up on Facebook and on Etsy. Just search Pig and a Pug. Did you get that? Pig and a Pug. Also, as a special thank you for your support, we are offering all listeners of the 3 Links Oddcast a special coupon code for 24% off your order. Just use the code THANKYOU24 at checkout. And I'll say it again, Pig and a Pug.
All right, we are back. Thank you for that wonderful message from Pig and a Pug Bath Stuff. They make some fantastic bath products. They're in the beautiful Bitterroot Valley of Montana, right there in the western part of the state. It's a beautiful area. I've been there many times, and they have wonderful, wonderful soaps, bath bombs, other personal care products. Pig and a Pug. So, brothers, Brother Joe from Reno had to jump off, but he dropped a huge amount of wisdom on us there before he had to leave. What do you guys make of that? I was really inspired by his energy and enthusiasm for Odd Fellowship, and I think this is going to, not to overstate the case, I think this is going to really re-energize Odd Fellowship all over the state of Nevada. And it's a small jurisdiction these days. They could use it.
I think using some of that knowledge from other organizations is one of those things that's going to be vital for moving forward, because one of the things that is really struggling and lacking in Odd Fellowship right now is updated materials on education and marketing and things like that. And like Chris mentioned earlier, he has stuff from the 1920s. a lot of our materials, even if they're from like the last 10, 15 years, they're just kind of updated and recycled from older materials. So we have to look outside of the Oddfellows to find ways to move ourselves forward. So I think looking at the Greek fraternal system is a great way to get some of that knowledge. I've actually read a couple little small books that were directed towards the college Greek fraternity system to try to kind of learn a little bit of leadership skills in that kind of setting. And I got them on Amazon. One of them's called Motivating the Middle. That was a really good one. And yeah, so I think got to get your knowledge where you can and apply it however you need to. And I think if this, if Joe is able to keep that energy and motivate people, I think he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with in that jurisdiction. So kudos to them for embracing him.
I couldn't agree more.
Now, Christopher, I know that you, in your collection there in Montana, you actually have an artifact from the jurisdiction of Nevada. This would probably be a good opportunity to mention that. Maybe you can figure out what it is.
So I actually have a bunch of things from Nevada, not to toot my own horn, but the thing that we are discussing looks as if it's some sort of alien object. It's I don't know, it's like a little metallic colored, it's about half the size of a brick.
Okay.
And it has two holes on the top of it that are about the size and depth of maybe like a tea light candle.
Okay.
No idea what it is, but for some reason it has IOOF McGill, Nevada stamped into the side of it. So whoever it was in McGill, Nevada was just dying to make this thing. I mean, it is a great little thing, whatever it is. And I mean, it's in great condition, probably. But I have no clue what it is.
Is it stone or metal or what is it made out of?
It feels like kind of a light concrete.
Okay.
It looks
so
it looks
it's
like
space
a brick.
rock. Definitely space rock.
Oh yeah, I mean it's very obviously from. I mean Nevada may as well be another planet, but
right.
It's probably from another planet. It's at least colored as if it is. So
no, need a Geiger counter on it to see if it's like.
If that's,
but I have racked my brain to try and figure out what this thing is, and I can't find anything. The only thing that I did find out, well, I did a little bit of research about the Oddfellows Lodge in McGill, Nevada. And since I have a lot of time on my hand and I'm cripplingly depressed, I went on Google Street View and looked at the outside of the building. And there are these amazing, well, maybe not amazing, but they're very nice looking placards on the outside of the building that say IOOF. And there was a period of time where I was actually trying to find out who was in charge of the building to try and acquire those letters off of the outside of the building, because it's a defunct thing and there's nothing going on there. And that was actually what made the search kind of difficult.
Well, I can fill in a little bit of information for you, because I've actually been to McGill, Nevada several times, and I have driven by and taken pictures of the old Oddfellows Hall. So for listeners out there not familiar with the state of Nevada, it's a giant triangle stuck on the back of California. So the very pointy end at the bottom is Las Vegas. The very sort of top of the triangle on the left side is Reno, and on the right side, it connects to Utah. So if you head down Highway 93, which runs north and south, it goes through your city, Missoula, it goes through Twin Falls, Idaho, goes through Wells, Nevada, and eventually goes pretty much straight south through Nevada down to Las Vegas. And in sort of the middle, like 4 hours from anywhere or anything, is the town of Ely, Nevada. Ely, Nevada was surrounded by silver mines. So they had a big, huge operation mining silver around Ely. And the town about 15 miles north of Ely, roughly, was McGill, Nevada. And McGill is where they had the smelters to smelt the ore and turn it into silver ingots, which they then loaded on the railroad and shipped up to either the Union Pacific or Southern Pacific, whichever one they interchanged with there in the middle of the desert outside of Wells, Nevada. So McGill was the smelter town for Ely, and they had this very nice Oddfellows Hall. I haven't been inside of it, but it's one of the few actual remaining serious structures in McGill, because most of the town has kind of eroded away and gone on and done other things after the fact, because they don't have the smelters. They're not digging silver in the mines outside of Ely anymore. So everything is kind of concentrated on Ely. Ely sits at the junction of 3 different highways. North-south is 93. East-west is US Highway 50, often called the loneliest road in America. Having driven Highway 50, I can confirm it is lonely. You go through and like after 2 hours of driving, if you're lucky, you might see a sheep or a wild horse or something.
Oh, wow.
There's just nothing. Nevada is one of the,
and you don't pass anybody either, right?
Yeah, there's nobody. In the middle, there's the town of Eureka, Nevada. And then you drive another like 4 hours and you're in Ely. So Highway 6 also goes kind of diagonally through Ely, cutting southwest, headed for California, because that eventually comes out down in the Los Angeles area. So Ely's in the middle of nowhere. McGill is outside of that. And they did have a lodge in McGill in the days when it was a smelter town for the silver mines. But as to what that brick is, McGill is not exactly the extraterrestrial part of Nevada. Now, if this had been found at Rachel Lodge 375 in Rachel, Nevada, I'd be like, well, of course, aliens probably dropped that off. They were doing a visitation. Maybe they brought a traveling gavel with them.
So since you've been talking about it, I almost wonder if it's like a little smelter thing, and if those little indentations in the thing would be like 1 ounce of silver or something cool like that. Because if that's what it is, that's cool. To forget giving out I don't know, pins for your lodge or something. No. That's old fashioned. No. Give someone something that they can make 1 ounce Troy silver bars in, Yeah. That's a proper present,
Well, if there's anybody listening to this podcast in White Pine County, Nevada, we would really be curious to know. So if you know anything about Steptoe Lodge in McGill, Nevada, or what that brick might have been, be sure and get in touch with us. Our website is 3linksoddcast.com. You can also email us 3, that is the number 3, linksoddcast@gmail.com. Because I'm certainly curious about it, having driven past the hall several times, looked at it, stopped, taken pictures of the outside, and you, by this amazing coincidence, having this weird brick thing with holes in it.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I feel like we have to use a photo for like the cover title card for the episode or something.
I've got a picture of it. I've got a good picture of it I can send you.
Nice.
I have spent many hours sobbing while holding this item, and I just seriously cannot figure out what it is. But yeah, I'll send the picture on to Toby. We can get the picture up on the website, do whatever. We'll make one of those like "Have you seen me" posters, and I'll post them all over the area. Yeah, we've got a good plan for all this. Yeah, this is a great way to start our year.
So another thing that I heard that Brother Joe mentioned is his way of talking about Odd Fellowship and going out to people, especially young people, because he's right when he says young people want to know what they're getting into. And this is one thing where I think Odd Fellowship has really missed out on advancing. We need to be able, and when I say me, I mean any member, we need to be able to articulate to someone what it means to be an odd fellow so that they can then say, yes, that is what I want to do. If I were to articulate that, I would say being an odd fellow means you have this incredible sense of belonging to something that's very meaningful. You have the community of your lodge around you, which is a group of great people who will appreciate and understand you. You also have the wider world of odd fellowship. You can go to pretty much any lodge in the developed world at this point. And if you can find another odd fellow, you'll find an instant friend. I met Christopher here just through Instagram because I was looking for Oddfellow stuff on Instagram, and here he pops up in Missoula, and I thought, cool, I go to Missoula all the time, and now we're the best of friends.
Those things are true.
That is what Odd Fellowship gives you. It gives you this sense of belonging, this place where you become meaningful, you do something meaningful, and it puts you in touch with all of these really wonderful people.
I don't even remember how we met. How did we meet? I know I found Chris on Instagram as well, but yeah, I don't remember how we first got introduced. Toby, was it at Sovereign in St. Louis, or was it before that online?
It was before that online, because I actually started writing things for the Heart in Hand.
Okay, so maybe that was the first thing, was an article. Okay.
Yeah, and then I started writing more stuff, sending it to you, and then we actually met in person at Sovereign in Baltimore.
Okay, it was Baltimore then.
2018.
Yeah, and then the year after in Winston-Salem, we met up and put the degree on. So
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've, just this loose association of odd fellows that we have right here. This is an example of what comes of being an odd fellow. But then how do we articulate that? Lodges need to be able to have a presence in the community that's accessible to non-members, where non-members can go, oh, I've heard of that. What is it? It's no different than buying a mattress. The days of going to Sears and Roebuck and looking at mattresses at the department store and bouncing up and down on them are pretty much over. Now we look up Casper or Mattress Firm or whatever it is, and we order it and it comes to our house. And we do that because we can do the research on the internet. We can read the reviews. We can read what other people have to say about it. We can look up the specs. If Odd Fellowship cannot have that kind of presence on the web, it's going to make it so much harder to be able to get new people in, because new people, they don't want to try it and then decide if they like it. They want to research, find out about it, and then try it. And like we've been experiencing recently, Ainslie, you had someone contact you in Utah. Mm-hmm. They want to join a lodge. And so you've been trying to get in touch with the Grand Secretary of Utah, and you haven't had any luck. And, have you had any updates on that? What's going on?
The last update was I had contacted Myra Pittman in Colorado, and I forwarded the email to her, or a screenshot of the email to her, and she said she was then going to get a hold of the Grand Secretary and make that connect. So hopefully that is, it's in her hands. So hopefully that connect has been made, and that interested party can get pointed in the direction that they want to be pointed, so we could, get somebody in another jurisdiction that is in dire need of getting some fresh membership.
2021 needs to be the year that we get rid of the you need to know someone that knows someone that knows someone to get a hold of an odd fellow.
Exactly, because just for the listeners, a little background here. So Ainslie, you've mentioned this in the past. You're the person who answers the emails that come into the Sovereign Grand Lodge website.
Yes.
So a random person anywhere in the world says, I want to be an odd fellow. They email the Sovereign Grand Lodge and you check that account. So then you go through your list of people in various parts of the world to refer them to someone who can help them out. Because most lodges don't have their own website or Facebook page or other contact information. So we funnel things through the Sovereign Grand Lodge. So then you contact a grand secretary, someone like Brother Justin Bailey in Pennsylvania. He's amazing. He just goes around popping out new lodges all over the place. Oh, Bethlehem, you guys need a lodge. You need a lodge over here. So you contact Justin. He responds right away to the inquiry. He gets that person in touch with a local lodge, and then it's up to the local lodge to follow up on that. Okay, so you would think with all of the lodges that we have that are in such challenging circumstances where it's down to 6 elderly men who show up twice a month on a Tuesday afternoon. It's like the one thing they all say they want is membership, but they don't always know how to make themselves accessible to the people who want to join. And if we can do nothing else with this podcast, we want to help them to understand the way you make it accessible. Number one, your grand secretary has to be accessible. If an email inquiry comes into the Sovereign Grand Lodge, Ainslie needs to be able to forward it on to a grand secretary who will then follow up on it. So your grand secretary needs to have the email, check it regularly, respond regularly. Ideally, within 48 hours, we should be able to send a response to someone who wants to join and say, here you go. Here's the name, phone number, and email address of the secretary of the lodge that's closest to you. Contact them. If you don't hear anything in a week or so, get back to me and I will follow up on your behalf. If that one thing could happen, all of these people who are sitting out there right now, all alone in their parents' basement, they just finished up their game of Fortnite and they're thinking, I want to do something with my life. They could become Oddfellows if only we can provide them the path from sitting in their parents' basement to the front steps of that lodge. If only we could just provide that. And that's something that takes a regular kind of dedication and effort at the Grand Lodge level. The Grand Secretaries have got to check the email regularly, respond to things regularly, and make sure that communication is always able to happen. Because nowadays, the number one way we have of getting people into our lodges is when random internet strangers email the Grand Lodge and say, Oddfellows, what's that? How do I join? Is there a lodge in my town? I saw a cemetery with your name on it. Do I have to be buried there to be a member? Well, most of our members are buried in the cemetery these days, but you don't have to be.
Our most active members are in the cemetery.
A quick shout out to Brother Eddie down at Crescent City 73 in New Orleans.
And Oddfellows Rest, of course.
That's right. The Oddfellows Rest, one of those grand old New Orleans institutions.
Every Oddfellow should want to be buried there.
That's right. Well, the one reason our cemeteries have always been in financial trouble, lack of repeat business.
Yeah.
We got to punch that up. You got to die like 3 or 4 times and purchase several burial plots. It's support the local lodge. Come on, people. We can't
get like a bulk discount alone.
But Chris, I think you're absolutely right. We have to get rid of the paradigm of having some kind of personal connection to get into the lodge, because there aren't enough people left who can make that contact to an elderly Oddfellow in their community to be able to get an application. We got to make sure that there is a way of getting things going. And I'll add a little side note to that. Lodges themselves need to be regularly functional. The idea of let's just sit around the kitchen table and pay the bills and ignore everything else, that is almost guaranteed to not grow, because that is an incredibly hard thing to find. And if you join it, there's nothing else to it but showing up, paying bills, and leaving. You need to have a functional lodge that's actually having real lodge meetings, has a presence in the community, so that you can have that supply of new people coming in.
And if your lodge is not able to do that, when you do get somebody who comes knocking and they have lots of fresh ideas, once you get them in and get them initiated and get their, hopefully get their degrees within, a reasonable amount of time, ideally get that young member into a leadership position and mentor them instead of saying, no, we can't do this. No, we can't do that. Because that is guaranteed the fastest way that if you finally get your first member in 5-10 years, you're going to lose that member in 5-10 minutes. If you turn them down immediately, or if you lack the infrastructure in the lodge to properly mentor them or give them the education they need, that they just don't know how things work. And then you wag your finger at them and say, no, that's not how we do things. How are they supposed to know? You got to let them know how to do it. And then let them take over and take the reins and let the lodge turn into something new.
And put a different way, when you get a new member, do not tell them what Odd Fellowship can't do. Tell them what Odd Fellowship can do. Tell them you have an idea. We may not have enough people to do it. Let's partner up with the other group. Let's partner up with the Elks Club. Let's partner with the Sons of Norway. Let's turn it into an interfraternal competition with the Glowing Light Masonic Lodge down the street. Let's partner up with some group and say, hey, we're going to have food drives, and whichever lodge wins, the other lodge will buy them dinner. Do something like that. Find some creative solutions to get your lodge back out there. One thing that I think Covenant 6 does well, Christopher, and you can speak to this, is when you have the art walk in Missoula, the brothers are down there on the street with their canopy, handing out bottles of water, telling people, hey, we're the Oddfellows Lodge. We're here in downtown Missoula. We're almost 150 years old. Come check us out.
Yeah, that is something that we certainly used to do. We also used to give out free coffee as well, hot chocolate, things like that, cookies. And yeah, it was great. People used to love stopping by for free refreshments and then immediately getting turned off by us talking about what we do. And that was that. So I noticed a little bit of a flaw in that.
Yes.
Because it's like, come for the free water, stay for absolutely nothing. But at least I decided to take some initiative and bring some large garbage cans out to the street and put on a sign on the garbage can about how we're a organization that promotes taking care of the environment. And at least people don't throw the free water bottles in the street anymore. We throw them in the garbage can. Yeah. So, hey, every little step towards progress is a good thing. And I was actually going to say, it almost seems like we're not exercising our problem solving skills. In fact, we're exercising our problem finding skills a lot of the time. And there's that expression, you could have built a mountain with the energy that you took fighting against something. We have to stop that, because the people that do have the initiative, like the guy that we had on the show earlier, he, those people are few and far between. And when you get them, you really got to siphon that energy into something positive, because we are a culture of instant gratification, and especially, younger generations, if it's not working, they're just going to move on. They're going to do something else. Yeah. They will go start playing Fortnite in their parents' basement.
Now, I think a perfect example of what you just said is our co-host Sergio. He's been a member now for year and a half, I think. He got things active, and even despite the pandemic, he's got, I think last we talked to him, 3 candidates to join his lodge in Los Angeles. Now, you think of the Los Angeles area, there are multiple lodges around the LA metropolitan area, but this is a place with 2 million people easily. If you got 1% of 2 million people to join the Odd Fellows?
Oh my God.
Los Angeles would be a jurisdiction in and of itself.
Yeah, it would be.
They could finally tell the folks in the Bay Area, no, this is our Grand Lodge now.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. The ultimate insult to what you said, right, is we need 1%. We can't even get 1/1000th of 1%.
That's right.
So it's like it's working on that little bit, but it's it's like a snowball once you get it going, and especially with the enthusiasm that some people have for Odd Fellowship, it's a very easy snowball to start rolling. He better be careful. Before you know it, in 50 years, he's going to have lodges named after himself.
Yeah, I know. Within 15 years, he will be Grand Master of Nevada. He'll be a grand representative after that, and he'll be voting for things at Sovereign Grand Lodge.
He will be
really what we
super
need.
wizard dictator of the world, possibly.
Well, at least he has a background in political science. So with that, I think it's time that we do our shout out. You regular listeners out there know that we always like to feature something great that's going on in a lodge somewhere around the country, or in this case, around the world, because our lodge shout out is going all the way to the other side of the globe. It is going to the newly chartered Ghana Lodge #1 in Accra, Ghana.
Woohoo!
If you're on Facebook and you've been watching any of the stuff happening in the Oddfellows community group, we just found out about the chartering of Ghana Lodge #1 in Accra, Ghana, which is super awesome because I think that gives us 2 lodges now in sub-Saharan Africa. There's one in Nigeria, and there's one now in Ghana. So Odd Fellowship is definitely growing in Africa. We are starting to expand our international footprint, which is pretty darn awesome, if you ask me.
I'm really excited that we've got another couple lodges coming down the pipeline that are in other nations. Don't want to quite spill the beans yet until the charter is dry, but despite all the challenges we're facing this year, there has been a lot of growth. And hopefully that will help cover for a lot of the expected losses that we're also going to see in other areas, because there's a lot of challenges right now with membership, and that hopefully as we keep spreading in other areas, it will cover for the recession in other spots. And I really am excited to see Odd Fellowship take on a new life in different cultures as well, because it's really fascinating looking at how every other country or every other jurisdiction handles Odd Fellowship. When Cuba started coming online in the last year or so, and seeing these lodges that have been there for some of the oldest lodges in the order are down in Cuba, and to see how they do things and the photos that they're posting, it's amazing. It's amazing to see the resilience and my words are
sure
escaping
they get
me.
a lot of stuff done because they have such good coffee.
Yes.
It must be great
Yes.
to be a member of a Cuban lodge,
They know how to make things survive and make things work despite, having many decades of a horrible embargo that provided them with absolutely little to nothing. And so I applaud any jurisdiction that has an Oddfellows Lodge literally against all odds.
Well, I've had the good fortune to speak with and help out Brother Danilo Lopez, who's the grand representative of the Grand Lodge of Cuba. I got stuck in the airport with him in Greensboro after Sovereign Grand Lodge in 2019. And it was really kind of interesting to be there and talk to him because he was waiting for his flight down to Miami. I was waiting for the little puddle jumper over to Charlotte so I could fly west. I had Greg Powers with me, who speaks a little bit of Spanish, and we had Google Translate. We got to find out between the two of those about the Grand Lodge of Cuba. They do some really, really amazing work at the Grand Lodge of Cuba. Prescription drugs are expensive in Cuba. And so the Grand Lodge has a fund that will help out members who need assistance with buying prescriptions. They do various other activities. They go visit kids who are in the hospital, who have to be there for a long-term stay for things like orthopedic care, therapy, whatnot, things like that. So it's really amazing how dedicated they are to Odd Fellowship in Cuba, and how, despite all of the challenges they've had, not only are they dedicated, they are thriving. There are, I think, about 110 Oddfellows lodges in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
That is a huge, huge amount for that island. And to see Odd Fellowship flourish under such adverse conditions, I look at that and I go, if Odd Fellowship can flourish in Cuba, it can definitely flourish in a place like Idaho or Nevada, as it sounds like it is, or there in Montana, in your jurisdiction, Brother Christopher. In fact, I heard from your Grand Secretary that they're laying the groundwork for a couple of new lodges there in Montana. Maybe you might like to tell us a little something about that.
You would know more about it than I would.
We've mentioned before that there's an effort underway to recharter Montana #1 in Helena. And that's partly due to the efforts of Brother Ainslie, who talked to the gentleman who owns the old Montana Oddfellows home and wanted to get a lodge going there at the old home, which he now owns, runs as a farm. Well, it turns out there's another effort going in the very eastern end of Montana at Sydney, Montana. They want to charter Meadowlark Lodge #2. So it looks like we could have some new lodges coming online soon in the jurisdiction of Montana, which is good because I'm hoping to go to your next session in Montana. And it would be nice to have, like more than 15 people at your Grand Lodge session.
I think there was more than 15, not many more, but there was more than 15.
Well, that's true. The jurisdiction of northern Montana was there as well. And that is Alberta, for those who don't know.
Well, I think that they brought up about 2/3 of the entire attendees of the whole thing.
They did. Alberta is a fantastic jurisdiction. Right now, our Sovereign Grand Master, Wes Nelson, is from Alberta. He's in Calgary. But they just have some fantastic lodges and great people there in Alberta. At the Montana session in, 19, I was there, I think. At that session, I met some brothers from Lethbridge Lodge #8 in Alberta. And
Davy Wiggers.
Yeah, Davy Wiggers and some of the other young members of that lodge, members in their 20s, guys who are starting their careers and want a sense of fellowship because they're not finding it the same way at work the way they used to. And Odd Fellowship is perfect for that.
People change jobs a lot now. It's not like back in the day where you get a job and you stay there for your entire 30 years and you get a pension and you retire. People are a little bit more mobile now, and Odd Fellowship's a great way to make those kind of more longer term friendships that are a little bit more structured friendships. It's not like quite as casual as, like, it can grow into something that's casual, like, hey, you're bros, but it's a little bit more of that structured socializing that you would have kind of in a work environment, that you're trying to be a better version of yourself while you're around these people. And if you leave a job, you don't have anything in common with those people anymore, your work buddies, and then you grow apart, and then next thing you know, you don't have anything to do with them. But if you could form the relationships with people that do last over a career or a lifetime, there's a lot to be said for that.
There is. All right, well, let's head on to the Odd Podge. This is the part of the episode. It's like Good of the Order at the end of your lodge meeting. We talk about whatever we want for the benefit of everyone listening. I'm going to brag about the podcast, and here's why. Back in about September, I got an inquiry from a listener in Durango, Colorado, and he said, I hear what you're talking about. It sounds good to me. I want to join this. How do I join? And so we did a little game of telephone where he contacted me. I sent it on to Ainslie. Ainslie contacted Doug Pittman in Colorado, and we sent Matt's contact info to Doug. Doug got in contact with Matt, and Matt turned in his application along with applications for 2 other people, and they are going to get interviewed on Tuesday night to join the Oddfellows Lodge. I believe it's the one in Delta, Colorado. Our efforts to build Odd Fellowship are paying off here at the Three Links Oddcast. And I personally am very proud of that because I love Odd Fellowship. I want to share it as much as I can with as many people as possible. And it's very gratifying to see that many people across that much distance work together for the common goal of strengthening Odd Fellowship and enlightening these new members who get to unite with us. I think that's fantastic. And I hope to see more of that as we go forward.
That's a future Grand Master you've made there, possibly.
Boy, I hope so. Well, if things work out, Matt's mentioned that he would love to revive the lodge in Durango, Colorado, because he's got to drive a little ways to get to the closest lodge right now. So he'd really love to see the lodge come back in Durango. And I am all for it. These efforts to get lodges going in places where there haven't been for a time, they're successful. We saw what happened in New Orleans where they got Crescent City 73 up and running. And just recently, the new lodge in Chester, Virginia, and the new lodges that may be coming in Montana. Odd Fellowship is happening. It is really happening. We really are growing. We are finding these people who want to be Odd Fellows, and we're bringing them in, and that is wonderful.
Now is such a great time for it because this past, oh God, has it been a year? Has it been 6? Has it been, I don't even know at this rate, but it's forced everyone to think of different ways of doing things that they normally do.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these places, it really is like a sink or swim. And some of them are really thinking outside the box, and kudos, it's great.
So that's my
Well
Odd
done.
Podge, bragging about our accomplishment here as the show. And
Awesome.
who's going next? Ainslie, Christopher?
I'll go next.
Okay.
So it's kind of not like the most exciting Odd Podge, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the visual research committee that is within the Odd Fellowship. There is, at the Sovereign Grand Lodge level, there is a committee, and then a lot of jurisdictions have their own little committees. And in Illinois, they sent out a letter through the Grand Lodge asking to get some donations from the lodges to replenish their fund so they could buy a couple more of their seeing machines that they lend out to people who are visually impaired. And so this is a program that has been around for many, many decades. And one of the big things that this program does is they donate a gigantic amount of money every year to the Wilfred Eye Center at Johns Hopkins.
The Wilmer
Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins. But the other thing that which is for, studying eyes and ways to, make them not be messed up, I guess, for glaucoma and all sorts of different visual impairments. But the other thing that they do is they lend out these machines that people who are visually impaired can use to read with. And what you do is you have your book or your magazine, and then there's like a digital camera that points down at it like a overhead projector almost, but then it pulls it up on a larger kind of computer screen. So people then can zoom in however close that they need to, so they can read their newspapers, they can read their magazines, their books, what have you. And I know they've kind of started doing it with using tablets as well as kind of a workaround for a lower cost version of the reading machines. And we have, I think in Illinois, I want to say we probably have, like maybe like 50 machines. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, wow.
But there's several dozen of these machines that are in use in Illinois. And then most of the people that have them are seniors. So unfortunately, as seniors do pass away, we collect the machines and then we put them back out for somebody else to use. And eventually the machines will either get outdated or they'll break or they'll wear out. And then we have to replace the machines. And they're very expensive. There's several $1,000s for each of these machines. And that's something that most people would not be able to afford out of pocket. And it's not the kind of thing that most insurance or Medicaid or Medicare would cover. And that's a service that a lot of people probably are not aware of that the Oddfellows has. So if anybody out there listening is visually impaired, or somebody in their family or a friend is visually impaired and they need help reading, if they can't see as well anymore, they should contact their local Grand Lodge and see if their Grand Lodge has a visual committee that can lend them one of these machines.
Oh, that is fantastic. I know that one of the great philanthropic projects of Odd Fellowship is visual research. We do it at the international level, endowing the chair at the Wilmer Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins. And then the individual jurisdictions do a lot for that. Here in Washington, we have 2 programs. There's the juvenile visual aid, where we pay up to $150 for eye exam and glasses for children up to age 18. And we have our Vanderlinden Shepherd Adult Visual Aid Fund, which does the same for adults. So if you're an adult in Washington and you're in need of an eye exam and glasses, you can come to the Oddfellows and we'll help you pay for it. You know, that's one of the many really great things that we do as Oddfellows.
And we do so many great things. It's hard to, that's why it's so hard to tell people, well, what do the Oddfellows do? It's hard to really just sum it up in a neat little package because we do so many things. And then at the lodge level, it's kind of a open book. You could do whatever you want as long as it's in the spirit of the organization.
Yeah. So that's an excellent Odd Podge to share. Now, Christopher, now you got to share something.
So now it's a little weird because I'm going last, but I was going to congratulate the podcast as well, but for a completely different thing.
Okay.
Now, I ask this every time. What episode number is this?
I think
low 20s,
16,
something like that. Okay, something
16.
like that. Okay, so how many different countries has this podcast been downloaded in?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to say probably about 20. Of course, US and Canada, we've got several European nations, a couple in South America, Australia, Philippines, a lot of fans in the Philippines. Hello, Philippines, we love you.
Shout out to Lake Stevens, Washington.
Yes, Lake Stevens.
Yeah, can't leave them out.
No, they actually fixed that, and so there are no more downloads in Lake Stevens.
Oh, see, they're on to us.
Yeah,
they're on to us.
They've moved
the
it somewhere
FBI are
else
listening
now.
to the podcast. I told you.
So probably about 20 nations around the world. We're big around Northern Europe. A lot of listeners in Scandinavia. My people, thank you very much. Tack så mycket.
So that's a huge accomplishment, and you guys have really stuck with it. You've been consistent. You have continuously thought of new ideas, gotten new people on. Honestly, congratulations, guys. Hats off to you. You have done a really good job. And Sergio, too. I know he's listening. Hey, absolutely amazing. And may 2021 completely dwarf your previous year's listening amounts. Honestly, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I don't say very nice things very often.
Oh, I know.
Take it while you can.
Real.
Yeah, normally you're a prick.
Enough with the mushy crap.
I have to
New Yorker
I have to
coming
give
out.
Toby and Sergio the mad props though, because they're the ones who do the heavy lifting for the podcast. I pretty much just show up and just talk. And if they need a special title card made for episode for like a holiday theme, I Photoshop it in like an hour, and that's about my contributions. So they definitely do a lot more out of the office work than I do on it. So definitely hats off to Toby and Sergio for sticking with it and keeping the quality up and keeping everybody motivated.
All right, so I'll tell you what, now I take it all back, and instead of shining the happy light on everyone else, now we're going to shine the negative light on you and say that you really need to start pulling your own weight around here, or
I know,
we're
I
going
do.
to have to have a talk.
Yeah, we're going to make a note in your personnel file. We'll bring that up at your performance review.
Are you going to downgrade me from vice president of design and media to just associate?
We're going to change the locks on the front door and not tell you.
Yeah,
you're locked out.
I wouldn't laminate your key card. It may not work on Monday.
Oh, crap.
Now, Chris, before we go, do you want to get a plug in for your new podcast?
Well, I guess since you set me up there, I may as well. So
That's right.
I don't know if you've listened to the newest episode, but I released another episode last night. So it's been a little bit of a rocky road, I have to say. But I feel like with 2021 here, we're going to pick up some steam. The Lonely Hammer podcast is about my opinions on all things West Ham United and being the most geographically isolated supporter of the English Premier League football club, West Ham United. It's kind of funny, kind of boring, lots of data and weird sound clips. But if you're into that sort of thing, or you just like the sound of my soothing voice, please like, subscribe, share, tune in, whatever you got to do.
I've listened to it.
Do you wear like a hooligan scarf while you're doing it?
Don't worry about it. You start worrying about your own podcast before you start worrying about mine.
I've listened to every episode of The Lonely Hammer, including the new one this morning while I was out doing the banking for the Grand Encampment of Washington. And it is actually a really brilliant, insightful, funny, and quite charming podcast. If you like a quick listen to something that's a little bit quirky and kind of funny and entertaining and with a slightly dark tint to the humor, The Lonely Hammer is perfect for that. Plus,
I'll take all of those adjectives.
I understand you're going to be having a new theme song for the podcast very soon.
So I received it last night 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I probably, if it was a compact disc, I would have burned a hole in it already. And the only reason I didn't use it on the most recent episode was because I didn't want to sit there all night chopping it up and rearranging it and whatnot. I wanted to just record content, get it out so that people could not download it. What I've started doing, though, is I download my own podcast and I drive around listening to it really loud.
Yeah.
So although I'm not getting listeners, I'm getting listeners. You know what I mean?
Like
Yeah.
in the
People are
Blues
hearing it,
Brothers
but they're
in
not
the
listening.
movie when they were driving around in the Bluesmobile with the big speaker advertising the show. It's like that, right?
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah. I drive around in a hearse playing my own podcast.
That is an excellent metaphor for Odd Fellowship.
And my marriage.
Okay, Henny Youngman.
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, we should close this episode of the show. I want to give a teaser for our next episode. I don't want to call it a very special episode because that always means we're talking about drugs.
Call it moderately special.
It's a slightly special episode.
It's going to be all right.
We're actually going to have a very special guest joining us on the next episode of the Three Links Oddcast. We're going to have Brother Supreme Page from the Grand United Order of Odd Fellows. We're finally bringing the two orders of Odd Fellows together. He's going to join us and talk about some of the history of the two organizations, some of the commonalities, some of the differences. It's going to be an absolute humdinger of a show. You're going to want to make sure, just reserve the time about 2 weeks from now to download and listen to it, because it's going to be a podcasting masterpiece. Roman Mars is going to be calling us after that episode and saying, "How did you do such a great podcast? That was amazing." I'm
Is
Roman.
this going to be like a double disc version of the podcast?
I think so. It could be the special live release that's only available to fan club members, because this one's going to be great.
Okay, a special collector edition
To our Patreon members, right?
That's right.
Yes.
We don't have a
Yes.
Patreon. Maybe we should get one.
Click the link in our bio.
Yeah, we'll have to get Sergio on that. Make us a Patreon so we can get $5 a month.
Yeah.
Coffee money or something like that.
Or coffin
there is like
money.
another thing that is like a coffee tip or something. There's like another kind of Patreon type thing that we can also check out. That's like
Okay, but
buy me a coffee. I think that's what it's called.
I'm drawing the line at OnlyFans. I am not appearing topless to promote the show. I am an artist. I have standards, and Ainslie, I understand that's okay for you. I'm not judging, but I'm not going to appear topless to promote the show.
I was ready with the nipple tassels.
I subscribe to Ainslie's
they'll go with the
OnlyFans, and it is worth every bit of the $14 a month that I spend on it.
And with that, our podcast has gone completely off the rails, down into the gully. We're now
It's cheaper than therapy.
It is.
What is therapy? Like $100 an hour, and you literally have to pay someone to listen to your problems.
That's right. And
I am willing to do most
$15 a month,
anything to amuse people and make them laugh.
Yeah. Exactly.
This I pay $14 a month, and Ainslie posts 3 pictures a day of his hairy back.
That's right. It's perfect.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. I actually got it as a Christmas gift.
Everybody at Grand Lodge has seen my butt, and it's I'm a very hirsute person. Like I got like the Robin Williams hairy gene.
Yo,
so
me too, man. You don't got to tell me about that.
They call me Chewbacca pants.
Wow, you guys are like hairy back brothers now.
Yeah, that's a really terrible thing to be. It's all sweaty and Velcro-y.
All right, if you're still listening, this is the Three Links Oddcast, where we nominally talk about Odd Fellowship, or Ainslie's hairy hiney. Just
my hair
whatever.
honey.
But Ainslie, please don't give away any other secrets of the Grand Lodge degree, because
I'm sorry.
We're not supposed to be revealing any secrets of the order here on the podcast. Leave that to the Secret Society's podcast. Yeah, we killed Somerton, man. It was us.
It was us
over here, Oddfellows.
Because there was a lodge in the same town that was up the street, so therefore it means it had to be the lodge that did it.
Hey, and just a note to the people of Purple and Casper. Yeah, yes. we brought those people up before. We can't let this podcast end without saying that Toby, Ainslie, and Sergio need new beds. Every single one of them. They need new beds. So.
My sister got a purple mattress, and I am totally excited to go and lay on it to see if it's exactly as hyped as it is. My sister did say that it is the best sleep she's ever gotten.
Click the link in Ainslie's bio.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we better wrap this up before we get in any more trouble.
Toby's
Hairy
like, I'm
man
this whole
lays
thing
in
out.
sister's purple bed.
The royal purple degree bed.
Ainsllie, I'm telling you, quit giving away our secrets. Damn you.
Oddfellows ruined.
Content.
Thank you so much, Brother Christopher, for stepping in to co-host with us here. We wish all the best for our regular Brother Sergio when he'll be able to get back from his sojourn to the Material Sciences Department of the Three Links Oddcast. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you again in a couple weeks with special guest, Brother Supreme Page.